So appreciate you being my stand-in for tomorrow. Got some traveling to do, a little PTO going to Michigan. Gonna watch little Tigers action this weekend.
Nice.
So hopefully they do better than they did yesterday. Yesterday they finally lost a bet that I placed on them. I've been pretty hot with the Tigers, but yeah, I'll be traveling. So I appreciate you stepping up, going on the homies for me, because
of course
you can't let them get carried away over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know, the nonsense that a host on that show brings, you know, sometimes needs to be pegged down a notch. But
you got to check them. You got to check them for sure.
You got to check yourself before you're ready to wreck yourself. You know,
I appreciate you staying there for me for sure.
You know what? I'm there. And then on Detroit news, I saw Joby, whatever his name is out with the TJ surgery. Your guys' pitcher.
Say that again.
Job or Joby, whatever his name.
Okay,
yeah. He's out with a TJ surgery, so he's done for the season.
Little Tommy Johnner, yeah. Normally, hey, listen, that used to be the kiss of death. That just means he's going to come back throwing harder next year.
Right, exactly.
That's all it means. That's all it means. Austin's Art, Houday, brother. Appreciate you rocking with us as always.
Yeah.
But yeah, listen, enough Detroit stuff. We're here to talk about Cincinnati Bengals, and we got some things to chat about. I see Justin is in the chat here. Justin's backstage getting ready to join us, so we'll get started here, and we'll have the whole crew. Welcome once again. We are running through the jungle. I'm your host, Brandon Herriott, here with your host, Tim Lyons, and Justin Lacey. What's going on, fellas?
What it do?
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
Yeah, not a whole lot. We missed you there for the cold open, but we were BSing about stuff that you probably don't care about, so you didn't miss much.
Yeah, I figured. You know, I kind of tuned into the last little bit. Then I was like, you know what, that's fine. I went into the tech issues at the right time. It was only going to be a matter of time before I was going to join you guys. I'm surprised that you guys didn't even talk about the NBA Finals. You know, I mean, the Pacers are up 2-1 on the OKC Thunder, but yeah, I'm just in for entertaining scenes at this point, for real.
Listen, I've been rooting for the Pacers, but I picked OKC in 6.
Yeah, a lot of people did.
They're gonna have to get going.
Yeah,
they're gonna have to get going.
Did you see that Jay-Z apparently had lost $1 million bet because he had put $1 million on OKC to win the series in 5?
In 5, yeah, gentleman sweep.
Yeah. That's crazy, but hey, like you said, man, this ain't the cold open. We talking ball now because unfortunately we got some Bengals drama to uncover.
What?
And we got to talk about that stuff, don't we?
That doesn't sound like the Bengals. Nah, drama. They were drama free. Before we get in, if you have not, please like, subscribe, rate, review, and share. Tell a friend about us. We appreciate you guys rocking with us. Just trying to spread the word, spread the love. Tell them where you get your Bengals, AFC North, and NFL news. All right, Justin, I'll let you start up. Contract disputes continue here in the wonderful Queen City of Cincinnati. Shamar Stewart now went from basically the holding in dispute, just standing behind the drills, watching them. Hilarious to me, by the way, to now not there at all. We'll throw it up to you. What did you think? What's the take on him not being there now? Some of the comments he made with, I'm sure most of the people listening now have seen or heard the comments where he said he's 100% right about his holdout. He's not asking for anything else that they haven't given to anybody else. And for those of you who don't know, it's just really the verbiage of how they can get out of a contract years down the road if for some reason he has some sort of suspension or off-field drama problem stuff with the league itself or failed drug test, examples like that. And he doesn't want to do that. I get it. I get it. He's basically saying that he wants the same deal that our number one draft pick had last year. And some teams put this verbiage in their contract. Some teams don't. I also get why the Bengals would want it in there. To me, just don't fail a drug test. Don't beat up a woman outside of, listen, they had some things that happened over the last year with rookies that probably gave them a little hesitation and wanted to not get burned. I get both sides of this story, but Justin, what's your take on it and what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, gosh, man, can we please stop this offseason of drama? It's already been bad enough that I just don't feel good about this Bengals season upcoming because of all the nonsense that's happened. But I'm going to try to do my best to be the voice of reason here because I know everybody's first go-to thought is the Bengals are they're just a horrible organization. They're cheap and all this stuff. That's the first inclination. Then if you saw Adam Schefter's tweet today, it's not going to make you think any different. But I'm going to sort of piggyback off what you just said there about the whole circumstance, I guess. This is not really a money thing. This is a language clause thing written in the contract that apparently is news to him and news to the camp when it really hasn't been something that the Bengals have done before. I don't have a problem at all at Amarius Mims. I'm sorry, not Amarius Mims. Shamar Stewart and company. I don't have a problem with them, kind of basically calling the Bengals out. I don't have an issue with that. I think that the Bengals need to be called out for doing something that they haven't done before because Shamar is looking at it like, why are you trying to do this now? Okay. Because you've been burned in the past. I get it. But at the end of the day, I don't have no drama that I'm coming in here with. Only thing you can basically question me as a rookie coming in is that my production, but you drafted me in the first round for a reason because you believe in me type deal. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I'm looking at from Shamar Stewart's angle. But the whole overall umbrella of it is trying to take the Bengals out of it. The type of language or clause that I'm hearing about is really kind of it's highlighted as not normal, but it's really kind of it's always been there for real. Because man, just think about I'll take the Tennessee Titans like about 5 years ago. They took a lineman in the first round, and this dude ended up having not just one of the worst rookie years of all time. Off season wise, this dude was pathetically bad. And I think you guys remember who his name. I remember who it is. He was the offensive lineman, like a tackle or something. I can't remember his name, but I remember he got caught doing some crazy off the field stuff, like donuts in the street. Got arrested or whatnot. Titans was like, bro, we got to get out of this contract. We got to leave. They ended up being on the hook for all of it for the most part. And it was one of those things where like it was a failed draft pick before it even started. And then there's also other examples like that. So teams are trying to find a way to reassess recoup the value of if they make the wrong decision. I don't have a problem with teams doing that either. I'm not on either side of this whole matter, but based off of the situations that's been going on with the Bengals with Trey Hendrickson and the drama for his contract, I think Miles Murphy is kind of why am I keep saying the wrong name? I think Shamar Stewart is piling on with Trey Hendrickson, what he's doing when he was outspoken to the media a couple of weeks ago. I think that he's trying to do the exact same thing. It's not a good look. Trey Hendrickson has the right to do that because, first of all, he's putting years and work and cachet to his name. Where Shamar, you're literally 2 weeks and like you're like a kid out of college, just you're ready to join a job. Look, I get it. You're probably not happy with what your employer is right now, but at the end of the day, dude, you haven't proven yourself yet. So I'm kind of not with the side of anybody right now. I'm just a little bit frustrated that all of this is happening. This shouldn't be this hard. Just sign a damn contract. And while you're at it, get Demetrius Knight's contract done too, because apparently his deal is not done either. He did sign a waiver so he can continue practicing. So I'm to see that. But
his is a bigger issue. His is an issue league wide with the second round. That's not a Bengals issue, really.
Isaiah Wilson, yeah.
Isaiah Wilson, Tate Boy Fresh over there letting us know Isaiah Wilson is the offensive lineman that had all the issues doing donuts parking lot whatnot. Yeah, so they're two totally separate issues. I'm not going to trash Shamar Stewart for those of you who were tuned in to me going live through Pay's channel and on here. The night of the draft already heard me do that, so I'll let that go. I've been rooting for the guy. One of the things I did, that he said that I thought was interesting was that he does have the support of some of the stars on the team. Didn't use names, but not surprising to me. Not surprising. I feel like that team and that unity is forged, rather that front office is seeing it or not. But Tim, what's the stance? What do you think about the stance that Shamar has taken, and the Bengals also drawing the line in the sand, it seems, and not being a camp now?
Yeah, so I covered this a couple episodes ago. I talked about Shamar Stewart and his dad going on the radio too, talking about it. His agent, NFL, what was it, analyst or something from back in the day, or
is his dad his agent?
No.
Okay, then why? That's I don't understand that. Right. Yeah.
So my stance is so Shamar Stewart. Well, let's backtrack. Let's actually explain what's going on for some of you that don't maybe understand what's going on, because I've been actually covering this a lot, even on YouTube and stuff with other podcasts that I listen to. But
a lot of people don't understand it.
So the Cincinnati Bengals, they put in a clause in Shamar Stewart's contract that states that if anything was to happen, say a drug test gone wrong, or he gets into trouble, he would lose future guarantees. That means he could lose years 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, guarantees. He could lose those guarantees. Cincinnati Bengals are the only team in the NFL that have this contract, have this type of verbiage on a rookie's contract, a first-round draft pick's contract. The other 31 teams have the clause in there, but it's only for the year that they get in trouble for. So if Brandon goes and plays for the Tennessee Titans and he does donuts in the field and Brian Callahan says, no, you're not doing this, and he was drinking and got a DUI or whatever the situation is, they're only going to take away his guarantees for that year of when it happened. The Cincinnati Bengals want to have changed the verbiage to where he will lose future guarantees, and it's up to them of when, of how much and whatever that he could lose. Okay. Now my stance on this is I'm 100% in Shamar Stewart's camp. I agree with the kid. He has had, if you look at his track record when he was in college until he was drafted draft night, he has had zero issues. He hasn't had any problems. He hasn't been, beating up on his girlfriend. He didn't.
And highly rated coming out of high school.
Yes.
Let's remember that.
Yes. He didn't have these issues. He didn't have these problems. He didn't punch a girl, girl in the locker, or in the dorm, or push a fan running onto the field. He didn't have these problems, or pissing hot in tests when he's in college, or not showing up for practices and all this other. He didn't have that.
Failing a drug test for all of you squares out there.
Yeah. So he didn't have all these. Sorry. I guess I should say that.
You never know. I just want to listen, man. We might have some, there's might be some good Christian folk listening to us, and I just want them to be able to know what you're saying too. He pissing hot. I knew what it was.
Hot. Yeah. So, Shamar Stewart, he didn't have these issues, so for the Cincinnati Bengals, I understand what the Cincinnati Bengals are trying to do. I understand that. They're trying to put this precedence of, if you mess up, you could lose 2, 3, 4 years guaranteed money. I understand what they're doing, but to do it to Shamar Stewart with his track record, that's dirt. I'm sorry, but that's dirty. I've made comments before, and I'm going to make it short and sweet, is I had some kind of faith in the front office when Mike Brown said, you know what, I'm getting a little older. I'm going to sit back and just let Katie and, the Blackburns and Duke Tobin take care of business. I was I was hopeful, but as we've all know, you hope in one hand and shit in the other one, see which one fills up first. Or as Brandon likes to say also, hope is not a strategy. So, it's not promising. It's disappointing as a fan, and I've been watching the Bengals football for 40 plus years. And I love my Cincinnati Bengals, but this front office is really pissing the bed, and it's just not a good business. With Shamar Stewart and then Trey Hendrickson, and then the deal with, let's bring up Jesse Bates, let's bring up the whole T and Jamar Chase situation from last year, Trey Hendrickson last year too. This has been going on. So my faith in the front office right now, they can kick rocks, get out of here. I'm done.
I'm just tired of it, bro. Like, we're tired of this nonsense.
I think, Tim, to your point, Tay hit it on the head here with they'd have more leverage. It was a questionable character kid. That's
right.
Kind of what you were mentioning. Right. And I agree with you, and I agree with that. Here's what I like. Here's my analogy of what it is with the Bengals front office. And I'm not just talking about Shamar Stewart. I'm talking about just in general over the past several years.
Yep.
Maybe even a couple decades, if we're being honest with each other.
Right.
I feel like they're a very competitive family that wasn't good at sports. So the only thing that they can win are these contract arguments and negotiations. So they always want to have this stare down, this standoff, this pissing contest, and it doesn't behoove them where they should be competitive, and that's winning football games. And Shamar Stewart said so. He said it feels like they're more concerned with winning arguments than winning games. And he did go on to say, that he's not put off completely by the franchise. He still can have a long career here. He said all the right things to the point. He's not a questionable character guy, right? He said the things he should say. But at some point in time, I get the Trey Hendrickson and where they're off a little bit on the numbers and everything, because Trey Hendrickson also didn't get what he thought he was going to get and his camp thought he was going to get in trade value. So I get that whole thing. I'm not upset about that. To me, just get this thing done. Like, I don't know. What are we arguing about? You know what? You're right. Sorry. Sign it. Let's go. Let's just put this behind us, put it to bed, and let's go. But they don't want to lose face. The dumbest thing ever. If you're good, if you are a leader, some of the most impactful things that you can say are, I'm sorry. Great idea. Good point. They're not saying those things, man. That's not what our front office has done for a long time. Now, all that said, I do have some other issues. I'm taking some umbrage with the media. And I know if some people see the umbrage with the media, they might think they're talking about I was talking about the players, whatever. I'm not. I'm talking about me. I have umbrage with media. So yesterday, I'm watching Colin Cowherd. And I don't normally call these guys out by name. I really don't. But to listen to somebody who's on Fox Sports, and one of the biggest guys on Fox Sports, one of the biggest guys going in media, is sports media today, sit there and say that Shamar Stewart's not getting signed, and it's just the way Bengals do business. The Bengals are the cheapest franchise in the NFL by far, and this is just another thing. They're not paying him what he's worth, and they won't give him his money and his contract and all this other stuff. How can you have the job you have a support staff all around you, and not know that the CBA has negotiated all 32 contracts for the first round? They're all guaranteed, and they're all set in stone. It's not the money. It has nothing to do with the money. And then his little cloney over there, Jason McIntyre, just agreed with him.
I hate him.
Just agree with him
with a passion.
Just they got to pay him what he's worth. He's worth where we picked him at. It's set in stone. How can you not know that and have that? It drove me up the wall, man. To sit there and not know anything about how contracts work, the CBA and all this other stuff. When right before that, he said, basically our job is to cover football and then find other things to talk about until football comes back around.
Yep.
Well, if that's your main job, you should know how it works. Like, how do you not know? And then when you start calling teams cheap, okay, look, the Bengals have had a history of not wanting to pay third-year money guaranteed, sometimes second-year money, depending on what position it was. The guaranteed part of the contracts is where they've had. The spending the money is not where they've had a problem. And honestly, you can't be a part of the NFL and have a problem spending money because the way the CBA is. They get 48% of the shared revenue goes into the salary cap. And every single team splits that 32 ways, and that's their salary cap. There's also a salary floor. You have to spend at least 89% every year of your salary cap. And you have to average over 4 years, 95% of that salary cap spent. The heck, you can't be cheap in the NFL. You can't. It's crazy to me that that's the narrative and those are the things that are being said. And then you call the Bengals cheap after they just signed Joe, Jamar, Chase, and they're still negotiating with Trey. Come on, man. You got to do better than that. And then I got to take stray bullets. I wish I could go on the homies tomorrow because I got to take stray bullets from my boy G yesterday saying the Bengals are trash. I guarantee you tomorrow he's going to say something, Tim. The Bengals are trash. They're not signing their guys. Guess what? TJ ain't there either, bro.
Nope, he is not.
You ain't got him signed.
Right.
Like, don't throw stones in a glass house, cuz. Look at your quarterback situation. Calm down. Get out of here with that, man. He flip-flops back and forth. I can rewind stuff to 6 months ago, and he can talk about, how great the Bengals are doing, and he loves this and loves that. Then he goes, I don't know if we can sign them. I don't think you can sign. You'll never sign those three guys. Well, now you sign those three guys. Now you don't have any money left over for anybody else. Well, you got money left over. Why aren't you signing Trey? Like, dude, make up your mind. Pick a side to be on in the fight and fight on that side. I can't. Tim, I hope you keep him straight.
Wait, I don't do big takes. That's just not me. Yeah, I might, bullshit with you guys on the side and, say whatever. But when it comes to our podcast and what I post online and say is I do them by facts. This is the factual of the matter of it all is. And you are very savvy when it comes to salary caps and all this stuff. Like I'm looking at it and I'm going, I can't even figure out where my head goes, when I put my shirt on. So.
Well, and listen, Big G's not going to let facts get in the way of a good story.
No, of course not. Of course not. And that's a perfect example of when you just talked about Cowherd. His buddy went along and agreed with him saying they don't spend no money. It's like, really? Like, do you guys do your research before you spew out the mouth? Because when I spew out the mouth, it's because of stuff that I've read, I've heard. The factual stuff of the matter of it is I might have my opinion on the situation, but my opinion is not sticking my head up my ass and trying to figure out what's going on. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, I have multiple, like elite level or premium level, Spotrac, Athletic, All 22, like all these different places that I, a lowly little podcaster over here, pay to and research things and do my due diligence. And then you got people on Fox Sports just going out there willy-nilly saying whatever they want.
Like, I can't even watch. I don't know how you guys feel about this, Justin. Like, I can't watch Pay McAfee anymore. I just can't do it. His show is just got to me to where I'm like, y'all are just bloviating over there and trying to get the views.
Is a wrestling heel. That's all he is.
Yeah.
He's just brought that to sports. I think I like him in some of the on game day. I like him on game day.
Yeah.
But his day-to-day show, I don't take much away from it. Every once in a while, there's something funny or hot on it. Justin, do you listen to him at all?
I don't listen to any of the national guys anymore because everything that you said, everything that you uproared about when it came to Colin Cowherd, I've already said this many years ago. And Colin was one of the guys I honestly respected over the years. But quite frankly, ever since his co-host, it changed from Joy Taylor to Jason McIntyre, I'm done. And that happened probably, I think, like before the 2022 season started because, that told me everything I needed to know because how national guys really kind of personify themselves when it comes to the Bengals is that they always will stick with the common notion, the national narrative that the Bengals are cheap, no matter what they do. Even all the good stuff that they do, like the things that they're supposed to do, they don't ever report positively on it. It's always something that they can kind of spew out some sort of negativity about it. This offseason, though, and specifically this offseason, though, and while I'm not really up in this uproar about it because I always know that no matter how much that the Bengals are in the national spotlight, they're just going to try to shit on the Bengals as much as possible. But this offseason, like I said, the Bengals have done national folks a favor to write the bad stories about them. They've done them a favor this whole entire offseason. Joe Burrow's media tour during the Super Bowl, he's tried his damnness to get Joe Burrow got stones thrown at him all throughout the media row on Super Bowl during the media Super Bowl, doing all that stuff when he appeared on a number of different other Fox Sports shows. Some of them were just flat out awful, by the way. And it ain't just Fox. He was even on ESPN. And yet he's trying to champion for his guys. And then you got guys like Shannon Sharp laughing in his face or whatnot. And I'm just like, you got Stephen A. Smith questioning, like, you going to think that's going to get done with that ownership? And it was all because he was trying to hurry and get his guys T and Jamar taken care of. And also Trey, too, but like T and Jamar. Then the Bengals do sign T and Jamar. Crickets. You don't hear nothing for real. Obviously, they had a report that it was done. But, like, they wasn't giving no strong opinions like the Bengals actually did it. No, it just moved the goalpost to, well, the Bengals allocated too much money paying 2 wide receivers. What are they going to do about the rest of the roster? Now, Trey Hendrickson is in this contract situation, and it left for them to move the goalpost. Like, this is why you shouldn't have paid 2 wide receiver. Now you can't keep Trey. Now it was an easy stone to throw at about Shamar Stewart in this situation. It's all basically a tie back to the Bengals are cheap. But the reality is this is not a money situation. It might be a little bit, but this is a language clause situation, so the Bengals can duck away out later if shit hits the fan. But like at the end of the day, the Bengals have done themselves no favors this offseason whatsoever. This was always an ugly offseason, and everybody was going to throw stones at them. So I'm not as much as an uproar anymore about it when it comes to the national level, just because I already know what their agenda is. I already know what those shows are like. They all watch the Bengals only because of Joe Burrow, and that's it. They don't got no care in the world of what's going on with this team. It's because Joe Burrow is our quarterback, and that's the only thing that they pay attention to. If Joe Burrow wasn't our quarterback, they probably still wouldn't even know that we finally got an outdoor bubble, indoor practice facility, whatever, downtown. But the only reason why they know that is because Joe's a quarterback, and they got to pay attention to at least that. If Joe Burrow was an average quarterback to a below average quarterback like Andy Dalton, they wouldn't care. Like, it's like I said, it's of the notion that, like, bro, I'm tired of getting into this pissing contest about the national folks. Because also I got grievances with Adam Schefter and his tweets, man. Like, I know that he's trying to report on the news, but like his tweet regarding the Bengals today and yesterday, like, man, it just looked like, bro, like he's trying to make it seem like that he got it out for the Bengals for real.
Mm-hmm.
All because like the whole T. Higgins and contract was shaken out differently than he had anticipated.
Yeah.
It just seemed like that he got like some sort of grievance or something like that, man. everybody got hidden agendas when it comes to this stuff, bro. Like, and at the end of the day, like I'm just tired of paying attention to those guys because all they're gonna do is make my blood pressure go like they're gonna make my blood pressure go up, and then I'm gonna get hot and I'm gonna just want to cuss them all out for real.
Yeah, and listen, the Bengals. First of all, let's talk about T. Higgins real quick. Adam Schefter getting that wrong. When T switched agents and went to Jamar's agent, checkmate.
We knew it was done.
It was done.
He didn't like that.
Like, okay. But then you look at right now the way the cap sits, you want to have about 15 mil or so left over to fill out your practice squad and your roster and all that kind of jazz at the end of it. So you don't want to run it to zero. But there's 32, almost 33 million left for the Bengals. That tells me that they've always planned on getting something done with Trey. Because it's too much to leave on the table for the following year, right? So I really feel like they're still trying to get this done with him. And when people say we don't have the money to do it, we got $16-17 million. He's already making $16 million this year. We could make that 32 tomorrow.
Yep.
And be fine. And that's without, putting it down the road or structuring his contract any differently. So it is what it is. We're going to get off of the media because it's like you said, it's a slippery slope, Justin.
They're all a bunch of clowns.
Yeah. A lot of clown comments over there in the chat. We appreciate you guys, but we are going to take a commercial break real quick, hear from our sponsors. While we're over there, if you have not yet, please go ahead, like, subscribe, hit that thumbs up, share, tell a friend about us, and we'll be right back after these messages. And you are back with welcome back to Running Through the Jungle. That's what I meant to say. Listen, I got my blood pressure going a little bit too high. I got off on a tangent there a little bit. I apologize. A little bit.
It's the offseason, bro. We're due to kind of like spew off at the mouth, during the offseason, bro. It's been frustrating. It's been a frustrating offseason, bro. So I get it. Bro.
Sure has.
But,
it sure has.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but like for me, it has been frustrating because you got these people that it just making molehills out of nothing, and it gets frustrating. But anyways, go ahead.
Mountains out of molehills.
Yep,
there it is. Let's talk about some press conferences. We have heard from offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, coach, quarterback, all in this past week, and did any of them say anything of interest to you? I'll start with you, Justin. I don't know how many of these you caught or what you got to hear or whatever. Pitcher, Golden, Zach Taylor, or Joe Burrow. You won't believe this. Did you get to listen to all these?
Honestly, I did. But
you made it all the way through all the coach speak from Zach Taylor.
Sadly, I kind of did, but it's one of those where it's like I still didn't learn anything new. I'll keep it brief because like the main important one that we always know, just to be able to truly understand, because he's the important key to the franchise, to the piece of the puzzle that you got to make sure that this guy's right, and that's Joe Burrow, obviously. And yeah, the number one takeaway that I saw is that number one, that this is a distraction with the whole Trey Hendrickson thing. And that while he's happy to see that, it's less than the kind of distraction that we had last year, the gravity of the Trey Hendrickson effect is kind of negatively weighing down a little bit on us. And he acknowledged that. Like, he wasn't scared to acknowledge that stuff. But he also said, like, bro, look, that's life in the NFL, man. Shit ain't going to be perfect, bro. Like, you can hope for a perfect offseason every year and all that stuff. But, man, things just happen, man. Like, everybody can't be perfect. The Super Bowl champion Eagles go through stuff. You know what I mean? Like, they've made roster decisions, whether they pay for or overspend on guys that they made mistakes on. It just got covered up because they won a lot of games and won the Super Bowl. So that you don't really talk about the mistakes and the flawed errors that they made. But it's good to see him acknowledge that. He also took the shoulders of like, we win or lose based off of the quarterback play, and he's proud to take that on. That he's growing and ascending to that. The game has slowed down for him so much to the point where like he'll have multiple answers in his back pocket compared to where he was a year one or even year two when we even went to the Super Bowl. I thought that Joe Burrow showed really nice class, and it just still he gives you the calming presence of, I'm glad he's my quarterback in the midst of all this chaos that's happening right now. I'm just glad that he's my quarterback. So that's number one with him. For Zach Taylor, I didn't really care any of the stuff that he had to say because it is coach speak. But here's what I will say about him. I'm sick and tired of him being a guy that has to basically just be the equalizer from all the nonsense that's coming from the front office, and he's got to basically be the one that answers questions about it because no one up top is going to answer the questions for us. And that's frustrating. He's trying to coach his team. He's trying to get his players on board. He's trying to instill a lot more of this buy-in when it comes to the young guys and even the veterans that's now changing hands. We haven't even talked about the Jermaine Pratt thing, but yeah, it's so frustrating going through all this, and Zach Taylor has to find new creative ways to be able to calm everybody down.
It's part of not having a real general manager, Justin. Like we don't have a general manager. We have a director of personnel, right? Duke Tobin, president of personnel. Right. And then we have 3 or 4 guys in scouting. I mean, that's it. There's no general manager. That's what they should be going out there doing.
Yeah, and you know what? Zach Taylor's been handling like a champ, man. I never seen him sweat. I think that's one of the things that I think that I do appreciate about Zach Taylor is that he doesn't get bothered by it. At least he doesn't share that he gets bothered by it. Now, obviously, that doesn't reflect on his ability to be a better coach down the road, obviously, but it's one of those things where it's like, look, I know how to be able to talk my way through this. He's gone through some great PR training to be able to handle these kind of things, these kind of obstacles. Now going into the coordinators, to be honest with you, Dan Pitcher ain't saying nothing new because my thing is, I do expect the offense to expect the offense to carry the shoulder of the load all the time is unfair because the law of averages play on a year-to-year basis, man. That I do expect some of those numbers to regress. Like I don't expect Jamar to win that Triple Crown again. And if he does, that'll be fantastic. It'll be something that no one has truly never done before to win it in back-to-back years or to win it twice in the span of their career. And I don't expect Joe Burrow to be the passing yards leader and passing touchdown leader again. I expect some of those numbers to drop a little bit, but for them to still be a high-performing offense, just like we've always seen them before, because they know that they can do that and they got the horses to go along with that. But Dan Pitcher ain't saying nothing to me that I already don't know. Al Golden is the next one that is the main important one that I needed to listen to. And quite frankly, he does have the support of Shamar Stewart because I think that the pick of Shamar Stewart was championed first by Al Golden first, which I anticipated. And quite frankly, he's just trying to make sure that he's getting his scheme rolling. And it seems like that these guys are buying into his new scheme. So I'm happy to see that. Again, not a lot of soundbite information. It's one of those where it's like, I've heard him say this before, but I'm just happy that it's coming from a new voice instead of the old voices that kind of got tired of the stale messages. He's trying different experiments with different players, like Cam Taylor-Britt probably playing in the slot. We'll see how it all shakes out. But I do feel good about what Al Golden has said so far.
Yeah.
So basically, that's my overall takeaway from all the press conferences that I listened to. Quite frankly, it's Joe Burrow and Al Golden. Those are the 2 main ones that I paid attention to the most. The other ones I heard and I listened to, but I'm going to take them with a grain of salt because I've heard this song and dance before. You know what I mean? So
I was very intrigued by the CTV in the slot. Tim, before we run over to you, we got our boy Mod here. Appreciate you rocking with us, Mod. He said, "Where do y'all rank in the division, fellas?" Well, according to all the prognosticators in Vegas, second game
place,
behind the Ravens. So,
but they still got to go out there and play these games. So, I mean,
if you listen to your brother and everybody else that think the Steelers are going 14-3 over there on that channel, we would be third then. So that's up to you who you want to listen to. Tim, what were your thoughts about the? You said you got to listen to everybody, and I think you shared some sentiment here with Justin as far as who was compelling and who wasn't. But what were your thoughts from the takeaways from these press conferences?
I'm getting to that point to where when I listen to Zach Taylor, our head coach, it's like going to the car lot and asking this car salesman about this lemon on the car lot, and I talked to them. That's kind of stuff that we get from Zach Taylor. Yeah, it's a good car. Are there any issues? Oh, well,
we'll get it worked out.
We addressed it. Yeah, we'll get it worked out. That's kind of how I feel about Zach. That's just how I feel about it. Now, when it comes to, Joe Burrow, Justin touched on those. I'm not going to really go into that. But, Joe Burrow just went out there, said he's got to do better. He's got to stay healthy. And, he talked a little bit about the whole Trey Hendrickson and the Shamar Stewart. They asked him if it was a distraction to them. And he kind of implemented, it kind of was. But whatever, it is what it is. But my favorite part of the press or of the conferences or the news media stuff was Al Golden. I was really interested to see what Al Golden was going to say. He made the comment of, we know that we're dealing with the whole Trey Hendrickson and Shamar Stewart thing, but we have this next man up mentality right now. We got to make sure that these guys, these rookies and these young guys get in there and get to play. And, so they're prepared to step up if an injury was to happen. It was that kind of stuff that I like to hear from Al Golden, because it wasn't, we're just going to kind of see what happens kind of thing. No, he was doing this next man up mentality, and of course talking about the corners and everything. And but Al Golden, and one of my favorite part was when Al Golden made or they asked him, hey, how are you feeling? He goes, when Zach told me that I should take some time off, I should have took that time off. So he was really looking forward to this next 5 weeks off before, camp concludes. Mm-hmm. So just to be able to hear Al Golden was great. Pitcher, same old, offensive stuff. He mentioned, they asked him about Jermaine Burton and Yoshi and, those guys and stuff. And a little bit about the running backs. And he said, oh my gosh, what's Chase's last name? Chase Brown. Yeah, about Chase Brown. And, he mentioned them. He said, he was happy to have P. Ryan back. He's a good, tough guy for third round and blocking. So, it is what it is. Shut the hell up. I got you.
Mary Edwards, thank you so much for that. I needed that in my life and didn't even know it. Mary Edwards says, well, you're a Golden helmet licker. So, of course, you were impressed with what Golden had to say. LOL.
Man, I got burnt today. That's messed up, Mary Edwards.
That was great.
But anyways, it was just kind of like the same stuff that we always hear. But it was good. It was nice to see pitcher and Golden talk instead of just, it's usually Zach and Joe Burrow, and that's it. So yeah.
And Paul Wright's here looking for kittens again.
The big show.
So I got a good one here from Austin's Art. He says, I'm like, they have Burrow out there handle literally like the hard questions that Zach Taylor should be answering, or Bengals staff, whatever, but they have Joe handle like everything. I don't think they put him out there expecting him to handle everything. I just think that's Joe Burrow's makeup. Joe Burrow is intelligent and composed, and he's not afraid of conflict. Whether that's mental conflict, that's physical conflict. Reference him fighting Patrick Queen in college. He doesn't mind it. He does not blink when the barrel is pointed at him. And that's one of the things I love about him. That was the biggest thing that stood out. The one thing I will say about Zach Taylor's press conference, if you did listen to Zach Taylor and Dan Pitcher's press conferences this past week, that is one more reason why you should like and subscribe to Runnin Thru the Jungle channel, because we will give you the coach's cliff notes so you don't have to put yourself through that every week during the season. because it is excruciating, and we do that for you. And we give you just the cliff notes of it. Basically, we sit through a 10-course meal to give you 2 bites of food. It's horrific. But yeah, Joe, listen to Joe's conference. Joe's great. One of the things that I took away from Joe, there were several things in there that kind of like, is that a distraction? Yes. Did not mince words. Is Trey Hendrickson not being signed a distraction? Yes. Okay, there we are. But I think the little nugget that I took out of it was he was pretty excited about not having a new wide receiver on the team this year. And he talked about how they're getting to, instead of bringing somebody up to speed and spending a lot of extra time with one person, he's spending time with people that already know the system, and they're developing more and more with that system. And that leads me to believe, Justin,
Jermaine Burton might get it. Like Jermaine Burton, Andre Yoshivas.
Can Joe repeat his 2024 stats? You already alluded that you didn't think he could.
Okay. Can I be the first one to talk about and answer this question?
All right, you go for it.
All right. I'm setting myself up for the expectation that no, I do not expect him to lead the NFL in passing yards, passing touchdowns, and what is that, completion percentage or whatnot? Or I think that one, did he lead that one too, or was that two or whatever? I don't expect him to be the leader in those categories. But yes, he absolutely can repeat those stats, because I do think that Joe Burrow should have thrown for 5,000 yards. He was at 49,000 before. He should have been at 5,000 yards before. But there were just a few games that I believe that the offense just stalled. And that's going to happen throughout the course of the season. But also, you got to understand too, man, this is a tougher challenge this upcoming season too, where defense are expected to be a little bit better than the schedule that you faced last year, for real. And I just anticipate those defenses seeing what you did last year and getting better and trying to find answers to the test of what you did last year as a passing offense. You also got to be a more balanced team to run the ball a little bit better than what you did last year. They didn't run the ball good enough. And I think that they understand that.
Second half of the season, they were in the top half of the league. Like, once they got Chase Brown out there.
I don't agree.
That's too little, too late, in my opinion. And quite frankly, you got to be able to balance the offense better than what you have last year. And I get it.
And that probably led to lead to that slow start, right?
Maybe, but also too, you probably shouldn't have had guys like Zach Moss out there to begin with, when it was clear after week 4 that this dude is not Chase Brown. Like, Chase Brown should have been the guy. And yet y'all still was giving Zach Moss like 80% of the snaps to run the ball, bro. That shit was frustrating to watch. So with that being said, I think the Bengals do evolve their approach of being able to run the ball better and a little more efficiently. You got the bell cow guy to do it, and can complement it with the pieces that can, usher a nice little committee back there. So that's another reason why I think that they don't have to lean on Joe's arm like they think that they do. They just got to be very efficient, and they got to be potent. Be potent and efficient on offense. You know what I mean? So that's why I say that, like, while I think that he can repeat those stats, I think that Joe Burrow, is smart enough to understand that he doesn't have to win the game by throwing the ball all over the yard, because if all it's going to do is lead to just more pressure, more sacks, playing from behind again, then change the stripes up a little bit. So I think that he probably gets like maybe 4,700 yards, maybe 39 touchdowns. Again, those numbers can be improved.
So but it's still close to where his 2024
exactly. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, man. Like, so that's why I'm not buying stock into repeating the exact same stats, but it's very on par of what he's always done since he's been in the league.
I'll tell you what you should be buying stock in. That over-under on his yardage on DraftKings is 4,150.5 yards.
Sign me up.
His over-under on touchdowns is 33.5. So you might want to buy some stock on those.
I'll take the over on both. I'll take the over on both. And and that still doesn't mean that he can't be the MVP if he doesn't lead the league in yards or whatnot. Josh Allen just won an MVP, and he wasn't even top 5 in passing yards or passing touchdowns. So it's like, those stats don't even matter for real. If you ask me personally, as long as you're winning games, you're the reason why they're winning games, which Joe Burrow is, and he's athletic enough that he can also run the ball himself. So there's a lot that goes into it when it comes to the makeup of the offense. So, but that's why I say, like, I'm not buying stock into him repeating top of the league stats, but I am buying stock that he will get close enough in his own normal range, and his efficiency as the quarterback will be way better than we've seen before.
All right, what do you think, Tim? You think he's got a chance to repeat these stats, or do you think it's going to be a little more balanced offense, or do you like what do you foresee for the 2025 season as far as Joe Burrow's stat line looks?
Well, we have Joe Burrow and we have T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Our offense is going to stay to 70% passing the ball. Come on, they're not going to change that. Our defense is going to be better this year. It's a possibility. But I think Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor and the Bengals have taken enough beat down on their slow starts through weeks 1 and 2. What's Zach like 1-12 in the last like 4 or 5 years in weeks 1 through 2, or excuse me, 1 and 2. So I can only assume that we're going to go out there playing, great ball weeks 1 and 2 this year. I can assume that. And I'm not going to say I hope, because we've seen what happened in the last couple of years. But I believe Joe Burrow, if he goes out there, if the Bengals, I won't just say he, but if the Bengals go out there firing on all cylinders, weeks 1 through 4, Joe could have had that 5,000 yards easily last year if they did not play the way they did in weeks 1 through 4 of last year. So I say Joe Burrow is going to be over on the passing yards and be over on the passing touchdowns next year. I just have this, with us having the best wide receiver in the NFL and Joe Burrow with T. Higgins and the rest of the gang, there's no doubt. I think Joe can repeat this and maybe up it a little bit, or up it a much more.
I agree with you. I think he gets it. I think he gets 4,500 yards and right around 40 touchdowns, and I think that's good enough to, if not be in that lead, as Justin says he didn't think he's going to be in. If not in the lead, he's going to be in the top 3. I expect if he stays healthy, he's top 3 in those 2 categories for me. The other thing, we talked about the running game a little bit and Chase Brown and all that kind of stuff. I also would be shocked. Let's not go shocked. I would be surprised by the halfway point of the year if Taj Brooks isn't RB2.
I can see that. I agree with you on that. I can totally see that. I can. They were talking about, Dan Pitcher was talking about Taj Brooks during his little meeting conference, whatever the hell you want to call it, and he's a tough kid. And what is one thing that I've been preaching for the last couple of years is, even now with last year, is we need that lightning and that thunder. I think Taj Brooks is that thunder.
That tough yard, yeah.
Yeah, get that tough yard blocking. He's a good blocker too.
I still think he's got a little more upside and explosion than anybody else there to get that tough yard as well. He's obviously proved in college he can be a bell cow.
Yep.
Here, I don't think he's going to be asked to do that, but I think it's a good yin and yang and a good situation for him to be a number 2 for us.
Yeah, and, I just
listen. I also think the coaching staff, learned a valuable lesson by not, we go with the veterans and the young guys played well when they got in the second half of the year.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I just think and I know there's a lot of P. Ryan fans, and I don't know if there's any Zach Moss fans, but I just believe those 2 lost the step. They're not what
P.
they
Ryan
used to
will
be.
make a great block that'll help us at some point in time this year. He'll catch a ball out of the backfield that'll help us at some point in time this year. He's going to do some things, and I think he's a really great mentor for Taj Brooks. I think his game, when he was at his peak, is I think Taj Brooks' game is similar in style. I think that wraps it up for us, and that was almost an hour in the middle of the offseason. Unfortunately, it was a lot of ranting on my part and Shamar Stewart contract things, and the Bengals getting stuck on that. But Justin, you got any closing comments or anything you want to touch on before we get out of here?
I do want to shout out Jermaine Pratt. You know what I mean? He was released earlier officially. We already saw that coming. The Bengals pretty much, again, didn't do him any favors because that was another move that we all anticipated happening, and they waited until June 10th to finally officially release him. He did sign a one-year deal with the Raiders officially as of today as well, too. So congratulations on getting immediately picked up. You created a lot of great memories here, Jermaine Pratt, man. Unfortunately, I wasn't the biggest fan of your 2023 or 2024 tape, but it doesn't change the fact that, man, you are one hell of a player, and that I appreciate everything you've done. The interception against the Raiders in the wild card of playoffs is always going to be forever cemented in Bengals history. Clutch fumbles and then just turnovers at their crucial, critical times. You talk about the identity of the Lou Anarumo defense of bend but don't break, but create the turnover, that critical turnover for it to make happen. That was Jermaine Pratt. Everybody remembers the fumble in the jungle or the 100-yard dash because of Sam Hubbard, but that started because of Jermaine Pratt, along with Logan Wilson, too, of punching the ball out. So, he was a rock for his defense. Obviously, things had to change. And unfortunately, we just had to, make do and just go in separate ways. But I just hope that you have a great rest of your career, whatever that may be. Don't come back to the AFC North and sign with the Ravens or the Steelers or the Browns for that matter, because now you're going to be an enemy. But you're always going to be heavily appreciated here in the jungle, man. So I just want to shout out to Jermaine Pratt.
First thing I thought of when he signed with the Raiders was, that's ironic. The most iconic play he had for us was against the Raiders. Tony Blaze, 51333. Great name. Fantastic handle. He says, I just hope they win the first home opener game. They haven't won a home opener game since Jamar Chase got drafted in 2021, excuse me. I agree. And I think no other conclusion to come to, 100% Jamar Chase's fault. Tim, any closing comments or anything you want to touch on before we get out of here? Hopefully that doesn't get aggregated, by the way. It was obviously a joke.
So I just want to tell every dad out there and our dads and dads out there, happy Father's Day this weekend. I hope you guys have a special day with your children and your loved ones. Without you dads, some of us would never been able to play baseball, never learned how to throw a baseball, never learned how to throw a football. Some of us never, would appreciate you guys from teaching us to be a man. So happy Father's Day, everybody, or to all you fathers out there, and have a great, safe Father's Day weekend.
Well said. Everybody enjoy your Father's Day weekend, and stay safe from the national media, please. It's a dangerous world out there we live in. So don't trust. Just don't trust them. They don't know what they're talking about. Hey, we'll see you next week as we are running through the jungle.